Imagine walking into a room filled with people whose decisions shape industries, reputations, even nations, and somehow they all want to talk to you. Not because you're loud or flashy, but because something about you pulls them in. You don't chase influence, it gravitates toward you. That's what Machiavelli understood better than anyone. Real power isn't seized, it's magnetized. It's not about begging for attention, it's about making yourself impossible to ignore. Now, before you think this is about manipulation or pretending to be someone you're not, let's set that straight. Machiavelli's brilliance wasn't in deception. It was in understanding the invisible rules that govern human behavior. The same rules that decide who gets invited into the inner circle and who stays outside, knocking on the door. So, let's talk about those rules. 13 of them, to be exact. The subtle, often invisible laws of social climbing, the art of creating genuine, strategic, and powerful connections without ever appearing desperate for them. Because the truth is, power rarely flows upward. It's almost always offered downward to those who seem worthy of receiving it. Law number 1. Never approach power directly. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? You'd think that to connect with someone powerful, you'd go straight to them. But in Machiavelli's world, that's suicide. When you go directly to power, you place yourself beneath it. You announce that they have what you want. Instead, approach the network around them, the aides, the assistants, the friends, even the enemies. Power is never isolated. It's surrounded by a web of relationships. You climb that web quietly until the powerful one turns and notices you already standing close. Law number 2. Make yourself useful before making yourself known. Most people want to be seen first. They introduce themselves, pitch, flatter, or boast. But influence doesn't come from being visible. It comes from being valuable. When someone powerful realizes you solve problems before you even speak, you've already won. Machiavelli would say, become indispensable to the powerful, but never dependent on them. The trick is to create small, undeniable reasons for them to remember your name. Law number 3. Mirror the hierarchy. Don't fight it. The moment you try to act like an equal when you're not, you create silent resentment. The powerful don't dislike ambition. They dislike presumption. Know your place in the beginning. Even exaggerate your respect slightly. It lowers their defenses. But as your value grows, subtly raise your posture. Let your confidence evolve so naturally that no one can pinpoint when you stopped bowing and started standing tall. Law number 4. Never reveal your full ambition. The greatest mistake of the social climber is transparency of desire. Once people know you want something from them, they begin protecting themselves. Machiavelli would advise you to cover your hunger with charm. Let people believe your curiosity is personal, not strategic. Ask questions, show interest, but never make it seem like you're chasing an opportunity. You're just there to understand, to learn, and that makes you magnetic. Law number 5. Learn to read vanity like a language. Every powerful person is powered by an image of themselves they're trying to protect. Some want to feel wise, others generous, some heroic. If you can see which version of themselves they most want to be, you can speak directly to it. That's not flattery, it's alignment. It's saying, I see you, in a way that most people never do. And when someone feels truly seen, they lower the gates. Law number 6. Be unpredictable, but never erratic. If you're too consistent, people stop paying attention. If you're too chaotic, they stop trusting you. The sweet spot is to keep them guessing slightly. Change the rhythm, but keep the melody. Machiavelli understood that mystery is a currency. Those who cannot be easily read are always respected more than those who are open books. Law number 7. Borrow status, don't steal it. Sometimes being associated with power is more effective than possessing it. Stand near those with influence long enough, and people begin to assume you belong there. This doesn't mean pretending to be someone you're not. It means strategically placing yourself in environments that elevate your perception. Attend the gatherings that matter. Contribute in the spaces that attract attention. But don't beg for entry. Act as if your presence is natural, expected, inevitable. Law number 8. Control the perception of effort. Power respects ease. The more you appear to struggle for access, the further it slips away. If you make every move look calculated, but effortless, like a chess master who never seems to sweat, you draw respect. Machiavelli warned against appearing too eager to please. The trick is to give the impression that your ascent is not forced, but destined. Even when you're working tirelessly behind the scenes, the world should think it's all instinct. Law number 9. Observe before you engage. In any social hierarchy, every group has its rhythm, its inside jokes, its taboos. Those who rush in without observing become outsiders, no matter how charming they are. Spend the first encounters mostly listening. Watch how people defer to each other, how they joke, who interrupts whom. Once you understand the invisible map of the room, you can move without stumbling. Power belongs to those who read the room before they speak. Law number 10. Align with rising power, not established power. The instinct is to attach yourself to those who already sit on the throne. But Machiavelli warned, kings fall. Align instead with those climbing swiftly, the ones not yet comfortable, not yet complacent. Help them rise, and they'll remember you when they do. Those who build with power from the ground up are never forgotten. Those who flatter it at the top are easily replaced. Law number 11. Cultivate an aura of calm authority. It's easy to mistake loudness for strength, but in the world of influence, composure is dominance. The calm voice in the storm always draws attention. People in power crave stability. When you radiate it, they gravitate toward you. Machiavelli would say, never appear rattled by fortune. Even when everything's burning, smile like you expected the flames. It's not arrogance, it's control. Law number 12. Know when to disappear. Constant presence breeds familiarity, and familiarity kills mystique. After every significant interaction, pull back just slightly. Let absence amplify your value. People only talk about you when you're not around to speak for yourself. The echo of your presence can sometimes do more work than your presence itself. Power is never clingy. It moves with purpose, then withdraws to be missed. Law number 13. Transform admiration into loyalty. Influence begins when people notice you, but real power begins when they defend you in rooms you're not in. And that doesn't happen through favors or flattery. It happens when people believe their association with you elevates them. Make others feel that by helping you, they're actually advancing themselves. Machiavelli would say, bind others by their interests, not your gratitude. These laws aren't meant to turn you into someone else. They're meant to refine the way you move. The difference between those who orbit power and those who absorb it isn't intelligence or charm. It's understanding timing, tone, and perception. You don't demand entry into powerful circles. You become the kind of person who's naturally invited in. When you understand these principles, something subtle happens. You stop chasing influence and start embodying it. People begin introducing you differently, speaking of you differently. The air shifts slightly when you walk in, not because you announced yourself, but because something about your presence feels inevitable, earned, and hard to ignore. And that, Machiavelli would argue, is the true essence of social mastery, not domination, not deceit, but the quiet command of perception itself. But here's the truth most people never realize. Understanding these laws is one thing, embodying them is another. Machiavelli never meant for his principles to stay trapped in ink. They were meant to be lived, practiced, adapted. The real power isn't in memorizing them. It's in weaving them into the way you move, speak, and think, until they no longer feel like tactics, but instincts. The first step to that transformation is recognizing that power doesn't respond to effort, It responds to rhythm. You can't rush it. Influence has a tempo, and if you move too quickly, you break the flow. Machiavelli would say, timing is the invisible force that separates the admired from the ignored. You might do everything right, but if you do it too soon, it collapses. The art lies in waiting just long enough for curiosity to turn into attention, and attention to turn into respect. You can see this in how true connectors behave. They never chase introductions. They create moments where introductions happen naturally. They know that powerful people hate feeling like they're being targeted. So instead of saying, "Can I meet this person?" they orchestrate value in a way that others bring the connection to them. It's quiet strategy. Less spotlight, more gravity. Think about how Machiavelli might walk into a modern social circle. He wouldn't be the loudest voice, but the one everyone looks toward when silence falls. Not because he demands it, but because he's mastered the invisible cues, pausing before speaking, measuring reactions, leaving sentences slightly unfinished so others lean in. He would make power come to him by giving others a reason to seek his approval, not the other way around. That's the subtle essence behind all his laws. Make others invest in your image before you ever ask for their favor. People defend what they've built, and if they've helped shape your rise, they become emotionally tied to it. That's how connections become alliances. It's not manipulation, it's psychological reciprocity. When someone powerful feels that you reflect their own success, you become a mirror they'll want to keep polished. Now, something few people talk about when studying Machiavelli is restraint, the power of not acting. Most people destroy their potential connections by overreaching. They text too soon, compliment too eagerly, reveal too much. Silence, used properly, is far more persuasive than words. It creates tension. It makes people question what you're thinking, which is another way of making them think of you. The trick is not to be passive, but selectively invisible, showing up at moments that matter and disappearing when noise begins. But here's where it gets deeper. Machiavelli believed that connection without leverage is a mirage. You might know powerful people, but unless they feel a reason to keep you close, that connection fades fast. So he'd tell you, always bring something to the table that they can't easily find elsewhere. It doesn't have to be money or status. It could be insight, perspective, or even calm in chaos. Power craves reliability, and when you become a source of it, your influence grows quietly in their minds. And this is crucial. Never try to outshine the powerful, but never let them forget your brilliance either. It's a balance few can maintain. Most either shrink to please or shine too brightly and get burned. The secret lies in subtle reminders. A sharp comment here, an unexpected solution there, that signal intelligence without arrogance. Think of it like lighting a candle in a dim room, not a fire that blinds everyone in it. Another thing Machiavelli understood: proximity changes perception. You stand too far, you're invisible. Too close, you're intrusive. But find that perfect distance, where your presence is felt, not forced, and suddenly, you're part of the landscape. You're not a guest anymore. You're an element of the room. That's when power starts to see you, not as someone reaching upward, but as someone already belonging. He also knew that charisma isn't energy, it's focus. When you speak to someone powerful, make them feel that for that brief moment, the entire world has disappeared except them. Don't rush to talk about yourself. Let silence hang between your words. The most magnetic people aren't the ones who say the most. They're the ones who make others feel most seen. And yet, no connection lasts without mystery. Familiarity breeds comfort, but too much of it breeds contempt. You must constantly evolve, add layers to your story, reveal new sides. Surprise people just when they think they've figured you out. Machiavelli would remind you, predictability is death to influence. Every few months, shift slightly. New interests, new projects, new collaborations. It makes people reassess you, which reignites curiosity. Another unspoken rule of climbing social hierarchies: never mistake proximity for power. Being close to influential people doesn't mean you're one of them. Machiavelli would tell you that true influence is when people start mentioning your name in rooms you haven't entered yet. And that doesn't come from networking. It comes from narrative. The way your story travels when you're not there to tell it. So craft your narrative deliberately. Let every move, every word, feed into that perception of quiet capability. Here's a reality most ignore. The powerful aren't drawn to equals. They're drawn to reflections of what they wish they were. So if you can embody a quality they secretly admire but lack, discipline, vision, emotional control, you become irresistible to them. They see in you the version of themselves they're still chasing. That's why self-mastery is the foundation of social mastery. You can't influence outwardly until you've stabilized inwardly. And sometimes, the best way to connect upward is to move sideways. Befriend the people no one pays attention to, the assistants, the quiet advisors, the second-in-commands. They are often the real gatekeepers. Machiavelli would have said, "Power rarely wears its own crown." The people closest to the throne usually have more control over who sits beside it than the ruler himself. Build genuine respect with them, not through flattery, but through competence and subtle understanding of their challenges. But remember, every connection must have an expiration in your mind, even if it doesn't in theirs. Don't cling. Power shifts. People fall. The same man who dined with kings could end up begging their guards for mercy the next year. Keep your loyalty adaptable. Machiavelli didn't despise loyalty. He just knew it should serve purpose, not sentiment. When someone's influence fades, let your distance grow naturally, not out of betrayal, but out of realism. The final layer, the one most overlooked, is the art of appearing effortless in your ascent. The powerful will forgive ambition, but never desperation. When they sense you need them, they lose respect. When they sense you could thrive without them, they become intrigued. That's why you must build your own foundation, strong enough that connection becomes a bonus, not a necessity. True influence doesn't beg to be noticed. It compels it, quietly, like gravity. And that's the paradox Machiavelli left us with. To rise in the hierarchy of power, you must learn to detach from it. To connect with powerful people, you must stop needing them. Influence is not about collecting names. It's about building a presence so deliberate, so composed, that the powerful feel elevated by standing beside you. That's the essence of social climbing as Machiavelli saw it. Not clawing your way upward, but constructing a version of yourself that power naturally aligns with. The climb isn't external, it's internal. Because once you master yourself, every room, every person, every opportunity eventually bends toward you.